Everyone, we're going to do this kind of just like we do in class. Okay, so these are going to be our notes for today. If you want to print out the notes, they're on Google Classroom and you can follow along. If not, you can just take them on your own. There's going to be one super important thing to write down today, and that would be the quadratic formula. It is the formula that we use to solve quadratics, and it can solve any quadratic, okay? It is super important that you know how to use this, and we're just going to practice that today, do a couple examples together, and then you'll have, I think, just 4 homework questions that you can turn in to me, and then you'll be done, okay? So, quadratic formula, there it is. It is on the board, okay? The quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now, I know that seems like a lot, but it's really not, okay? A, B, and C, we got to talk about those 3. We have to remember that our standard quadratic is written as ax squared plus bx plus c, okay? So, this front number would be where you plug in a. This number b is going to be where you plug in b, and then same for c. Okay, so you're just going to take those numbers and plug them into that equation and then solve. All right? So, a couple other things we need to talk about though. The discriminant, okay, that's this word up here. All right? That is the piece under the radical or under the square root. Now, we use that for a couple different reasons. All right, so this b squared minus 4ac, that is your discriminant. That tells you how many are the number of real solutions, okay? So when you graph it, that tells you like where it hits the x-axis, because those are your roots or your zeros or your x-intercepts, okay? Those are your solutions. And it's going to tell you how many it has, either 2, 1, or 0. So let's talk about that. Okay, if the discriminant is positive, so you plug those numbers in, you solve it, it's a positive number, you have 2 real solutions. That would be like A, okay, this has 2 real solutions. It hits the x-axis in 2 spots. Okay, B, if the discriminant is negative, there are 0 real solutions, okay? That's like that picture down here. It doesn't cross the x-axis. So there's 0 solutions. Lastly, if the discriminant equals 0, there is 1 real solution. Okay, that's like down here. It only hits the x-axis in 1 spot. All right. So discriminant is either positive, negative, or 0. We're going to practice that now. So we have this equation, 2x squared plus 11x minus 6. 2 would be A, 11 would be B, negative 6 would be C. Okay? So I'm going to plug that in to my discriminant formula. Remember the discriminant is B squared minus 4AC. So, for b squared, I would have 11 squared minus 4. Then I'm going to times by a, which is 2, and times by c, which is negative 6. You have to take that negative sign with it. And I'm going to solve. Okay? 11 squared, we get 121. Minus 4 times 2 times negative 6. You could just put that in the calculator. 4 times 2 times negative 6. We get negative 48. Okay, so it's minus a negative. Remember that turns to positives. So 121 plus 48. I get 169 for my answer. That is obviously positive. Remember, since it is positive, we have 2 solutions, okay? Positive is 2. Let's try the next one. Again, we're plugging in to b squared minus 4ac. So in A, B, C. B squared, I have negative 5 squared minus 4. A would be 4, C would be 2. 5 squared is 25, or negative 5 squared is also 25, okay? You would put that in your calculator with parentheses. So negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25, minus 4 times 4 times 2, which is 32. So we get 25 minus 32. That is a negative number. It's negative 7. So remember, since it's negative, that means I have 0 real answers, okay? This was positive. This one's negative. Okay. We're going to try 2 more of those, then we'll be done with that. But we just want to get really comfortable using the discriminant, okay? So, again, I'm plugging in b squared minus 4ac. b is negative, or b is 5, sorry. Did I? Yeah, okay. 5 squared minus 4 times a, which is negative 4, times c, which is negative 8. Okay? So we get 25 minus, then we need to take 4 times negative 4 times negative 8. We get a positive 128. So 25 minus 128, we honestly don't even have to do that math. We know it's going to be negative. That is a negative number. So 0. That's 0 solutions because it's negative. All right, if you want to pause the video and try this last one on your own, I highly recommend that. Okay, then you can check with me, but I am going to go through it right now. So if you want to do it on your own, pause it real quick. Okay, last one. We have, again, b squared minus 4ac. b is negative 30 squared minus 4 times a, which is 9, and then times c, which is 25. So we're working with big numbers, but that's okay. We need to take negative 30 squared. All right, make sure you put negative 30 in parentheses. You get 900 minus 4 times 9 times 25, and we get 900. 900 minus 900 is 0. Remember, if you get 0, that means you have one solution. Okay, hopefully you got that if you tried it on your own. Next, we're just going to do a couple practice problems using the whole quadratic formula, the whole thing. Okay? So, oops. There we go. Okay? Oh, we're going to skip this part, okay? We are going to use the quadratic formula, okay? The whole thing, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. All right? So, here is our equation. Oops. Negative 3x squared plus 5x plus 5. Here they ask me for a, b, and c. A is out front, which would be negative 3. B is 5. C is also, 5. Okay? So we're going to plug in and we're going to solve. So x equals negative b. Basically what that means is I know that b is 5, but I have to put a negative sign in front of it. Plus or minus the square root of my discriminant. So I need to take b squared, which is 5, minus 4 times A, which is negative 3, times C, which is 5. All right? And I have to divide that whole thing by 2A. All right? I know that's a lot. Now let's just go through and simplify that. Okay? So again, we have x equals, we have the negative 5, plus or minus. Now, in the square root, we have 5 squared. We know that's 25. Minus 4 times negative 3 times 5. Let's put that in our calculator. 4 times negative 3 times 5. We get negative 60. So we have minus negative 60 divided by 2 times negative 3, which is negative 6. Okay? So let's simplify again. We have negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus negative 60. Remember, those terms are positives. 2 negatives make a positive. So 25 plus 60, we get 85 all over negative 6. Now, remember our discriminant, it did ask us for that. That would be 85. So that's positive. So we should have 2 real solutions. If you got to this part and it was negative, so there's no solutions, you could just stop because you know that you don't get a real solution. Now, well, you're not going to get a real, you'll still get a solution, but it will still have square roots in it, okay? So, what we are going to do from here is we are going to, remember, it's plus or minus, so we have to have our 2 answers. Negative 5 plus the square root of 85 divided by negative 6, and then we have negative 5 minus the square root of 85 divided by negative 6. Okay, super important. Remember, there's 2 different solutions, so you have to do the plus and the minus. Okay? So, from there, we are just very carefully going to put that in our calculator. So, we would take negative 5 plus the square root of 85 and then divide it by negative 6. All right? We get, we're just going to round, equals negative 0.7. This one, we have to do minus. So negative 5 minus the square root of 85, and then divide it by negative 6. We get 2.3 and then 7. I rounded that 6 up because of the 9 after it. So our 2 answers are negative 0.7, positive 2.37. Okay? I know that is a lot, all right? But and it's new stuff, but we're going to keep practicing it this week. So, we are going to do one more together and then we'll be done. Okay, so this is the last one. We're going to do the same thing. We are solving using the quadratic formula. So, A is 10, B is negative 9, and C is 13. I'm going to plug those in. X equals, remember it's negative B first. Since B is already negative, negative 9, remember it would just be, now it's just going to be positive. Okay? So I have 9 plus or minus the square root. So B squared, so I have negative 9 squared minus 4 times A, which is 10, and C, which is 13. Divided by 2 times A, which is 10. From here, we're just going to go one more step, and we'll just simplify each time. So we have 9 plus or minus the square root. We have negative 9 squared. Put that in parentheses. Okay, we get 81 minus 4 times 10 times 13. Put that in your calculator. We get 520. Divide that by 2 times 10, which is 20. All right? So, again, we're just going to simplify. We have 9 plus or minus the square root of 81 minus 520. We get negative 439 divided by 20. Now, we got a negative answer for our discriminant, negative 439. Remember, negative equals 0 solutions. Okay? A negative number means 0 real solutions. All right? And we can't actually take the square root of a negative number. If we tried to do that in our calculator, it would give us an error. So, what we're going to do for problems like these, when you get a negative, is you're just going to stop here. All right? So your answer for this problem is just this. Okay? You are done right there. Once you get to that point, if there's a negative, all right, and you get your determinant is negative, so you have 0 solutions, then you're done. You can stop right there. So, what we learned today, we learned how to do the discriminant of a quadratic and how to use the quadratic formula. These are both super, super important things. I hope that you do the homework, practice on them. If you have questions, please email me, ask me, and I will be more than happy to help. Please also listen to the other video I shared with you. Okay, it's kind of just a fun song, but it makes it kind of easier to memorize the quadratic formula. It is something that you need to know. So.